Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today for another COVID-19 vaccine update. And in today's video, we're going to answer the question that I'm sure at least some of you are starting to ask. That is, I'm vaccinated, now what? Or, more importantly, what does this mean for me, my family, and those that I might come in contact with? Hi, I'm Dr. Lewis Grin, family medicine physician. And if you're lucky enough to have gotten one of the 85 million doses that have been distributed in the United States, or one of the 291 million doses that have been distributed around the world, then you might be asking yourself this question. In today's video, we're going to go through some of the do's and don'ts that people who have been fully vaccinated should adhere to. All right, let's get started. First, let's define what it means to be fully immunized, because it's not like when you walk out the door after your second Moderna or Pfizer dose, or after your Johnson & Johnson dose, that you're fully immunized. Your body needs time to build up the antibodies to protect you. That time is about 14 days. So during the period from when you get your second vaccine, or when you get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, until about 14 days later, you're still at an increased risk for getting COVID. So please continue to be careful during that time. Now, why do you need to still be careful? And why do you still need to be careful even after you've gotten the vaccine? Well, it's because you're in an exclusive club. Even though we're vaccinating more and more people every day, there's still a small percentage of the population, both in the US and around the world, that's actually been vaccinated. So unfortunately, there's still a lot of circulating disease out there, and you're still going to need to be extremely careful. The other reason why you need to be careful is, unfortunately, vaccines are not 100%. Now, these vaccines are really good, 94, 95, 72% for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's phenomenal. A little known fact that a lot of people may not be aware of, it's understood that the FDA would have approved any vaccine that had a greater than 50% efficacy. These vaccines are knocking the top out of that. However, they're still not 100%. The other thing that we don't know yet is how well these vaccines do at actually preventing disease. So the quoted statistics of 94, 95% efficacy is at preventing severe disease and death. What we don't know, but we are starting to learn, is how well they do at preventing you from getting sick in the first place. Now, there's been some real-world data out of Israel that the Pfizer vaccine, at least, may provide up to 85% efficacy at protecting you from getting sick in the first place. And since both the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines have been identical in just about everything else, I can't imagine that doesn't apply to the Moderna shot, but we need more studies to prove that. We also need more studies to continue to confirm the efficacy at preventing disease. So, just because you've gotten the vaccine, it's not really a get-out-of-jail-free card. You still have the potential for getting sick. You still have the potential, at least as far as we know right now, to spread it to somebody else. So you still need to be careful. That is the reason that I'm putting this do's and don'ts video together, because I think a lot of people are mistaken in thinking that once they get the vaccine, they can go out and do whatever they want and pretend like the pandemic is over for them. Unfortunately, it's not. Okay, so let's start with the do's list. What can you do now that you've been fully vaccinated and feel pretty confident in doing? The first thing is you can feel pretty confident in socializing with other people who have been vaccinated. Even though we know the vaccine isn't 100%, your risk of contracting the virus or spreading the virus to somebody else who's been fully vaccinated is pretty low, even in indoor spaces. So I know we've all been longing for times where we can hang out with others, hang out with our friends, families, and if you're lucky enough to have your friends and families who have been fully vaccinated, I think you can feel extremely comfortable doing that. In fact, we've already been doing that this weekend. We were lucky enough to hang out with my in-laws this weekend, and because we've all been fully vaccinated, we felt very comfortable in doing so. What else can you do? The next thing you can do is feel a little bit more confident in getting out and about and doing some of those things that you really need to do, like going to the grocery store, going to the dentist, getting your eyes checked, and by all means, going to the doctor. We know there's been a lot of people that have put off health care, put off preventative care, put off needed procedures during this pandemic because they were afraid of contracting the virus. Well, at this point, if you've been fully immunized, I think you can feel pretty confident with the safety measures that are in place in those locations in particular to get out and do what you need to do and take care of yourself. Please, if you've been fully vaccinated for sure, and maybe even if you haven't, please get back in to see your doctor if you've been putting things off. We don't want your health to suffer in any other ways because we all have suffered plenty because of this pandemic. Okay, so now let's go through some of the don'ts. The first one I'm going to start with is actually a positive. Don't quarantine if you've been exposed to someone with COVID-19. Now, that's actually a pretty good thing because originally the CDC's guidance was if you've been exposed to COVID-19 or someone with COVID-19, you need to quarantine for 10 to 14 days, depending on whether you got tested in there and some of the new changes that went into effect about midway through the pandemic from the CDC, but you still had to quarantine for a significant amount of time. Now, if you've been fully vaccinated, you don't have to quarantine. Now, you do need to continue to monitor for symptoms, and if you feel like you're getting sick, you need to immediately quarantine and be tested, but you don't have to quarantine in the meantime. That's fantastic for people like healthcare workers or people who have essential jobs where quarantining actually created quite a burden on society and not just a burden on them. So that's great news, and one of the things that you can actually feel pretty proud of if you've been vaccinated and that you don't have to quarantine. Now, what are some of the other don'ts? Well, these are the things we've been doing all along. Don't stop wearing your mask. Just because you've been vaccinated doesn't mean you can rip off your mask and throw it away. You still need to continue to wear it just like you've been wearing it before. The vaccine is not a reason to stop wearing your mask. The other thing that you need to continue doing, don't stop keeping your distance. You still want to maintain that 6-foot distance between others because you don't know necessarily who's been vaccinated and who hasn't, especially if you're out in crowded public spaces. The other thing that you want to not stop doing is washing your hands. To me, that's a no-brainer. I'm not sure why it took a global pandemic for us to remind everybody to wash their hands. That's something that you should have been doing anyways, and frankly, pretty gross if you weren't. So please keep washing your hands. The last don't that I want to go over, and it's probably one of the most important ones, is please don't pretend that the pandemic is over for you. It's not. Remember, we still need to hit herd immunity, we still need to get more people vaccinated, and we still need to protect ourselves and others. So please don't wake up the day after you're shot and think, okay, I can get out of bed and go do whatever I want to do, pretend like it's 2019 again, and go out and about like nothing ever happened. That's probably one of the worst things that we can do. And I'm afraid as more and more people will get vaccinated and we hit the burnout from this pandemic, that's the attitude a lot of people are going to take. I look at that as running a marathon and getting to the end of the race and just stopping. Please don't stop. We all want to be done with this pandemic. Trust me, nobody wants to be done with it any more than I do. Okay. That's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a like. That actually helps other people see the video. And I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel and coming back for more videos in the future. And while you're at it, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think of the video and anything that you might like me to cover in the future, because I hope the pandemic's going to be over at some point and I'd like to get on to me making other videos. All right, and as always, be safe out there.